Hello again, welcome to Learning Math by Examples. Today we're going to talk about square root of a number. So as definition says, a square means to multiply a number by itself. And so the square root of a number, then it's the number that was multiplied to itself to give us that number. So 5 squared is 25. So we can say 25 is the square of 5. Then square root of 25 will be 5. We can also show this as a power of a fraction, which is 25 to the power of 1 over 2. And when 2 is the root of that fraction. So negative 5 squared. Negative 5 squared is also 25. So then we can say the square root of 25 can be also negative 5. Let's look at some examples. What is the square root of 16? So what number multiplied to itself gives us 16? Well, that's 4. Square root of 36. That's the number that will multiply to itself to gives us 36. And that number is 6. Again, in both these cases, the answer could be negative 4 or negative 6. And that would be correct. How about the square root of 100? 100 is 10 times 10. So the square root of 100 would be 10. And if you look, all these numbers are all whole numbers. So we call these perfect squares. When the square root is a whole number, that square is a perfect square. But what if we have an example that, asks us to find a square root of a number that is not a perfect square? So in this case, we have 3 methods. We can just simplify whatever we have under the square root. So here we have 3 times 10, and then we can again convert 10 to 2.5. So then we get to 3 prime numbers. So square root of 30 is a square root of 3 times 2 times 5. And that's as simple as it gets. But we can also use another method to make an estimate. And we get help from our perfect squares. So as you see, 30 is between perfect square of 25 and 36. So that means the square root of 30 is anywhere between 5 and 6. So let's try something. Let's try 5.5. 5.5 squared is 30.25. So now we know our square root is a number smaller than 5.5. Let's try 5.4. That gives us 29.16. So now we know that a square root of 30 is somewhere between 5.4 and 5.5. Now, can we get an exact number? Yes, we can. We can use the intermediate value theorem. Since the function of a square is a continuous function, let's assume the square root of 30 is a number x. We can use our intermediate value theorem formula to calculate x. Basically, we just pick the number above and the perfect square below, and this formula, you can look it up. It's x2 minus x divided by function of x2 minus function of x is equal to x2 minus x1 divided by function of x2 minus the function of x1. And here our function is x squared. So to get x, we just need to solve this equation. Simplifying the equation, we get to 6 minus x over 6 is equal to 1 over 11. We multiply both sides by 6, and we just transfer the variable to one side and all the constants to the other side. And if you punch 6 over 11 in your calculator, you get 0.545. So here x is equal to 5.455, and that's exactly between 5.4 and 5.5. Now let's look at cube root and nth root. So cube root, again, similar to square root. When a number is multiplied by itself 3 times, we call it a cube. So the cube root of a number is the number that was multiplied to itself 3 times. 5 cubed gives us 5 times 5 times 5, that's 125. So that's cube of 5. Then we can say the cube root of 125 is 5. Again, we can show the cube root as a power of 1 over 3. How about negative 5? Negative 5 cubed actually gives us negative 125. So the cube root of negative 125 would be negative 5. And in general, if you want to talk about nth root of a number, so if a number like a get to the power of n, that means multiplying a to itself n times. So the nth root of a to the power of n should be equal to a. Again, if you also want to solve this, a to the power of n to the power of 1 over n gives us just a to the power of 1, which is a. Now looking at some examples of the cube roots. What is the cube root of 27? So what number gets multiplied to itself 3 times to give us 27? Well, as we know, that's 3. How about cube root of 64? So 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So the cube root of 64 becomes 4. And again, these are all perfect cubes because the cube root is always a whole number. Now let's look at an example that we're not dealing with a perfect cube. What is the cube root of 10? Again, we can just simplify this to the cube root of 2 times the cube root of 5, or we can have an estimate using the perfect cubes. 10 is between 8 and 27, so the cube root of 10 should be somewhere between 2 and 3. And we can tell it's going to be closer to 2 because 10 is much closer to 8 than to 27. So let's try 2.2. 2.2 cubed gives us 10.65. Okay, so we're getting close. So, but we know it's going to be smaller than 2.2. Let's take 2.1. 2.1 cubed is 9.26. So now we know that the cube root of 10 is somewhere between 2.1 and 2.2. Now we want to get the exact number using the intermediate value theorem. Again, we can use it because the function of y is equal to cube x is a continuous function. So let's assume that the cube root of 10 is x. Again, using our formula, we say x minus 2 over 10, which is the cube of x, minus 2 cubed, which is 8, is equal to 3 minus 2 divided by 3 cubed minus 2 cubed. So solving this formula, we multiply both sides by 2. X minus 2 is equal to 2 over 19. And here, if we just put 2 over 19 in our calculator, we get 1.05. So x is 2.105, and that's exactly between 2.1 and 2.2 that we had estimated before. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe and like the video to get notification from all the videos that I put. And please don't forget to comment and give feedback. Thank you.